Ladies and gentlemen, please take out your penises and piss on your phone because it's time for the wrestler. Drink your golden tea.
Oh, yes. That's right. One more episode in the whole year of McMahon. It turns out we stopped 2 years early.
It turns out we stopped at the least exciting, right before the most exciting part. It was 2020, Dylan. What a time it was. It was COVID. We predicted that Vince
Oh,
McMahon.
yeah. Fucking because that was COVID. We brought along the pandemic. And then Vince McMahon. Oh, fuck. I forgot. The first thing that happens after we stopped is Vince McMahon just going, not. Not like an actual anti-vaxxer did, where it's like, I don't believe in COVID. He never said that. He just didn't pay attention to it.
Yeah, no, it was. I remember this specifically. I watched that WrestleMania. I did a watch along to that WrestleMania on Twitch, and what I couldn't stop thinking about was, wait a minute, they're doing this in front of a crowd. They did it in Florida in front of a massive crowd. It was like I remember watching that in the Super Bowl, and at that moment, like I was in 1 in 3 super
No,
lockdowns.
he didn't do he didn't do WrestleMania in front of a crowd.
He did.
The
First,
second one, yes. The
yeah,
first one, no, but
for,
the first one they never missed a week of Raw.
no, you're completely correct. But I'm
They
saying,
never missed a live week of Raw. They never.
but to your point, Vince McMahon coming out of the COVID in the 20, because there's sort of the COVID denial, which it's weird because we don't really talk about this. It's all lumped in, really changed. In 2020, it was this virus isn't real. And then by as soon as the vaccine rolled out, I don't know what it was like in Canada, but as soon as the vaccine rolled out in the States, by March, it was the vaccine will kill you. And COVID, I'm not actually talking about COVID. We're just talking about the vaccine. It's this weird thing. And Vince McMahon kind of did the alpha capitalist big man businessman version of that, which is never miss a week of work, ignore COVID. And then he heard the word vaccine and he was like, this thing that I don't care about is over. And everyone was like, wait, actually, if we're not careful with that, I said over, and then just open shit up. That's the thing that was crazy about Vince, was it was like, I only believe in the things in COVID that serve my purposes.
Now this is the other thing that Vince McMahon soon does afterwards is we get the return of him as an on-screen character in segments that don't make any sense or are just basically someone being insane on television. And
So
then also his voice has changed.
I have a theory about this.
Sure.
So I was wildly speculating in my own head in preparation for this.
No, that's what I like. That's the only thing I want to have happen.
I know that you really have got. I've been trying to figure out how I can turn your idea of my idea of just doing a Monday morning wrestling reaction show. John Hastings becomes the Jim Rome of pro wrestling, just calling John Cena Joan, and then he attacks me. Okay.
Oh no, you would just say John. You would just keep asking John Cena why he hates America, and then he would attack you.
Everyone, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a man named Jim Rome who did sports broadcasting in America, and he is the most unnecessarily confrontational man ever. So there's a guy named
one of a kind,
Chris Everett or Jim Everett, and then
Jim Everett was the quarterback of the Rams, and then Chris Everett's a tennis player, and he was like, "You play like a chick out there. We should call you Chris."
No, and he kept going, "Okay, Chris," during an interview, and
okay,
then
Chris, call me that one more time.
And he went, "Okay,
don't
Chris.
ever." Which is so funny because you look at that now, and then it was like, why is Jim Rome such a dick? But now you watch it now, and you're like, I think Jim Everett's worse.
Yeah, Jim Everett. No, it's my favorite moment, which is Dick versus Dick, the greatest time.
And Jim Everett did suck.
Yeah.
So good for him.
Here's the thing with Jim Rome.
76 in a lot of video games in the 90s.
Ooh, he was never wrong. It was just the way he did it.
Yeah.
Jim Rome said,
I used to listen to Jim Rome when I first lost weight in high school.
Big man. I used to listen to Jim Rome all the time, and I don't like sports. I just worked at a sports radio station in high school. And
you just really like in your face. This is the thing about John. If you ever wonder why John sometimes just offers to fight people, is because John was in radio in the late 90s, early 2000s.
I was an intern for Duke and the Dandy Man, a show.
The Dandy Man.
Dude, the Dandy Man got fired because he said Ty Domi hits his wife. And then when the Maple Leafs called the station, they were like, you have to apologize. And his apology was, I'm really sorry. Ty Domi isn't aware that he's a fucking wife beater, bro.
There you go. That's sick.
The Duke was a football player on the CFL and definitely had CTE. Here's how I know that is I ran into him 3 weeks after I stopped working for him. And he said, who are you? Yeah.
I'm just looking up Montreal Sports Radio.
It was Ottawa Sports Radio. It was the team.
Ottawa.
the
Ottawa.
my producer was a man named Lee Versage. He had the
There's
smallest.
so many people named fucking Duke in sports radio.
Oh my
Continue.
god,
Sorry, John.
mostly people named Duke. And Jim Rome show, and the reason why I loved the Jim Rome show more than anything is he was the only guy in sports broadcasting who would be like, I just don't like that guy. Like everyone else, especially when you don't care about sports, but you like radio, which is the nerdy situation I felt myself in. He like you just are like, wait, what? Like he was the only one with personality. There was this guy Gord, who was the Ottawa
Gord.
Raiders play-by-play man, and that guy he ate half a tuna salad sandwich every day for lunch, and then would walk over to me and go, "My wife eats the other half because she's fat." Every day, he would make that same joke. That guy was the most boring man ever, and if it ever comes out he's a sex criminal, not only would I deny it, I would go, "Of course, that makes all the sense in the world."
Oh yeah, and your boys in England are having their own another sex criminal. That's sick.
Oh yeah, the great.
Another naughty nonce. I love how many names for pedophiles English people have.
What I don't understand is yet they're always surprised there's another pedophile. You know what I mean?
I
I'm
mean, I don't know how they could be at this point. Like, it just seems like what
you that do not know the story,
What?
let me tell it now.
British people think that what British people think consensual sex is pedophilia, is what I've learned. They're like, you and a 14-year-old you're related to engage in some picture tagging, and then you of course hide them from them, and they discover them. My favorite. So this guy. So I mean, you don't have to know comedy to think this is amazing. This dude's
Go ahead.
This dude's explanation about why it happened was he has OCD.
No. You're no.
I'm
So,
simplifying it.
sir, he said it's because of his ADHD medication, which he overdosed. And what he
That's
said
sick.
was, first of all, yeah, I was found guilty, but I have an explanation. By the way, when you are trying to shoo away a guilty verdict by going, let me explain, you did that shit right there. Second of all,
Be Vince McMahon. Just be like, show up at work, get caught with child porn, show up at work on Monday, and make everyone else think they're weird for making it a thing. That's what Vince McMahon would do.
so I ran into a writer for the WWE doing clubs here in this country right after the Vince McMahon stuff. And I asked him, like, is Vince still around? And he's like, yeah, he comes to the gym every day. And that is such a weird move of just like, oh, you fucking kicked me out.
You want to know what my theory is? What I think the straw that broke the camel's back is, and I just thought about this, is Triple H gave everyone a week off.
Oh, I guarantee
He watched a rerun and he was like, they're fucking my baby. My baby's being fucked.
Here's my theory, which is he realized that a woman, even though it was his daughter, was in charge of his company, and he had to be physically restrained from going and burning the building down.
It's
insane.
Well, then as obviously his daughter fucking.
But to go back before we talk about radio and everything else,
we have to talk about 2020.
I think we have to talk about 2021 because we did 2020 in the year of McMahon. We ended with 2020.
Sure.
So we have to talk about 2021 because we did. So 2021, I think Vince was aware the investigation was happening the whole time, which is why he put himself back on TV. He really tried to make it, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like there was a couple, like he really tried to make himself the focus again in that same way of like, oh, well, if I'm part of the product, they're not going to boot me out, because Vince will have had lawyers. He would have called a lawyer, would have been immediately involved and gone, if you did it this way, which clearly you did because they're going to catch you, this is the result. And so what can you do to fortify yourself against it? That's what I think 2021 was. I think Vince knew this was coming for some fucking time. It's also really interesting in that, so what we're talking about is Vince unconsensually did some Vince McMahon, Hulk Hogan style harassment in the old office. The office,
yeah, baby.
Old Jerry Lawler's house, but with adults. So Jerry would be throwing up.
Oh, Larry Lawler.
And used a bunch of company money to pay off these women for not talking, and then
you have a sound bar now?
That's right. And then he got
I like that you've started trying it when we quit. Continue.
It was one thing has nothing to do with the other, but it is funny. I also find it funny.
I've gone down, I left my my USB splitter, so I have to use my onboard microphone. I'm using a like ring light now instead of like a old lighting setup I had. Where you were like got a soundboard and everything. That's hilarious.
Dylan, I'm gonna start my new. I'm gonna become the new Duke of
We
sports
did
radio.
leave off. We did do 2020. You're right.
Yeah, I remember the year of McMahon was so insane because it was the only constant in one of the most insanely weird years of my life. Is that once a week you and I had to dredge through more intense research from Christopher Hobson, and especially as we got into the '90s, it was like Vince. I want to now go back and be like, when did Vince McMahon start these various yucky affairs and just fucking? Because I think he lost his fucking mind. Like I think that he was probably an adulterer, but I think he got so much power and was like, I am now my dad. And then he just went fucking nuts. Because say whatever you want. What he's doing now is will destroy this company. There is no
Yeah, he's well. This
way.
is the other thing where it's like oddly, we always view him as the ultimate capitalist. Like he'll literally work with, like he would have worked with the Nazis. He would have done whatever with any regime.
Given the Nazis a really beneficial deal. They're like, we'll pay more for this. And he's like, I just love you guys so much.
But he's oddly not a capitalist, or not the ultimate capitalist, really, because he is, instead of making money, which is the ultimate goal of being the ultimate capitalist, which he would have just done if he just sat back and let everything just keep rolling on. He's like, no, I'm going to take back over. Whichever thing will let me be in charge of this is the one that wins, and I'm going to fucking kill this if I have to.
Yeah, I don't think. Do you think he thinks he's killing it? I think that he is so inside that he only believes he can do it. So it's that weird thing of,
Yeah.
I don't think he thinks he's killing it. He's like, I've made the decision, therefore the decision is the best thing possible.
I don't know. It's kind of like if you were to break up with somebody and then you watch them thrive and then you get pissed off that they're thriving.
That's exactly what.
No
Yeah,
matter how you're doing, like even if you're doing good too, you're like, no, they need, fuck that.
Do you think? Okay,
He's a
here's a.
psycho.
Do you think that Bruce Pritchard being brought back has anything to do with this? I think it does. I think this investigation was coming for a while, and he was rebuilding back his most loyal of soldiers to surround himself with. It's also the John Laurinaitis factor in the whole Vince McMahon thing is still the weirdest thing, that his bang buddy, the driver of his bang,
Yeah.
was Johnny Ace. Like, just like,
But now everything makes sense, doesn't it? Why is John Laurinaitis there? Oh, he's just Vince's yes man. No, because
he's
they
man's a
have crimes. They're criminal friends.
yeah, they're accomplices.
That's true though.
That is true.
That's
They're really accomplices. Man, John Laurinaitis, say what you want. That man can be in a tag team. That man is loyal to his partner.
He's the ultimate tag team wrestler and tag team man.
Yeah, that's how Vince McMahon selected him. Who is your partner? Shane Douglas. What do you think of that little bitch? He's okay. Loyal.
So we get through 2020. We are into 2021.
Oh yeah.
Vince McMahon, fully insane.
I'm newly divorced. Vince McMahon, if he was there, his advice to me would be like, "Hey, do you have like $1 million and a bunch of staff you can harass?" And I'd be like, "I have neither of those things." And he's like, "Well, I don't know how to help you then."
Well, this is the thing about Vince McMahon is he would never recognize a marriage to begin with, because a marriage is a government document, and he doesn't like that.
Yeah, he technically considers Linda his house plant.
And I guarantee Nick Khan is like, so Nick Khan's I guess on a 5-year deal that started, I think in 2020, and he's like, when the fuck?
I guarantee
just end this.
I guarantee Nick Khan was sat like this, slumped down in a large backed office chair, looking out the window at the parking lot in Sanford, Connecticut, watching Stephanie with her weird little box of stuff walking towards her car. And he's just looking out the window and just a single tear rolls down. And then he just hears a fart getting ripped and looks this way. And Vince McMahon's bare ass is right. Ha, 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 ha.
But he's done. They're like, what? I don't know. Because so they're saying that like Vince is not going to be really in charge of creative. He's totally going to be.
Stephanie left. Guess what also was going to happen? Triple H is leaving. He's not sticking around to work at. Okay, well, hey, hon, Dylan, you're married. I'm not the one to analyze this because I am a divorced man, but you're a married man.
Yes.
You work your father-in-law is not a super cool Portuguese guy who may or may not blaze in the backyard, but is in fact a megalomaniac from Connecticut. And you work for that man. And not only do you work for him, you literally do the job that he feels he's the best at. And then your wife, in this case, is the co CEO of the company, and she leaves. Do you stick around because you're like, I'll tell you who's going to really respect my opinions, this guy? Or do you immediately leave and then the company doesn't say anything because they're like, we do not want people to know about this? Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Also, yes, he gave me a heart attack. Well, I don't think I want to say gave, but like I had a heart attack on his watch, and he was like, "Oh, that sucks. You're fired."
Yeah, that sucks that you're a fucking loser. That's what he said.
Sucks your bitch heart died. Ha 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 ha
It gave out because I guess it's two H's now. Ha 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 ha.
ha. That's good stuff.
Um,
But we should examine a bit more because Vince is. No, obviously we are not crazy people, so we didn't watch 3-hour Raws during the late McMahon era. But
I always just hit up the reactions to whoever got something fucked up put up in the Thunderdome. Like no one talks about how the fuck did it take them that long to start policing that? Like how quickly people were putting up Chris Benoit, like the list of AEW of things that they had to watch out for in the Thunderdome kept growing week by week, and I was like, guys, you either shut this down or you just understand that this is what you'll be doing because welcome to pro wrestling.
yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, you're people. You don't have to go past an usher with a Chris Benoit sign. You can just have one in your house. Like, what are you guys thinking?
There were something like 58 different appearances of Chris Benoit's face on the first statistic where you were like, wow, that's so many people that were like,
You're
I
like,
get,
well, Raw rules.
yeah.
Raw's good again because but yeah, well, I remember one of the key parts of the original Raw was fucking getting John Wayne Bobbitt on TV, who beat the shit out of his wife.
God, yeah, that's
He
right.
got his dick cut off, yeah, but he fucking
John Wayne
he
Bobbitt helped Val Venus recover from having his own dick cut off.
yeah. Here are my co-managers, John Wayne Bobbitt and O.J. Simpson, two men who were wronged by women.
Here's the thing that's weird about being a divorced
Mhm.
man is that know this. Me, OJ Simpson, and John Wayne Bobbitt, we all have something in common. Like I could be like, you guys divorced? And they'd be like, yeah, we handled it pretty good. And I'd be like, I don't know if you did.
That's the thing, yeah. I mean, I guess millennial divorce guys are much less angry than the baby boomer divorce guys I remember when I was a kid.
Because here's what I've realized about baby boomer divorce guys is like
Oh, they had shit to lose.
A, they had shit to lose, and B, like they got married so much younger. Like here's the thing. They like some people that got divorced, that was their first breakup and they're 50 and they don't know what heartbreak is. Yeah. Imagine having a herniated disc and you've never experienced heartbreak. Like you're fucked. You know what I mean? And this is also the thing, like, it's not a time like being single when you were 50 used to be like, well, you just hang out at a bus station until a really sad woman's around, I think, or something. You know what I mean? Like there was no Tinder. Like
Mad you can't get back into it. Like
Mad Men is more make believe than Star Wars when it's like, yeah, this divorced woman can just marry a senator. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I know people now that are like, divorce. Well, people probably think you're a harlot, John.
Sex is a lot easier.
Yeah,
we come by now. Like we do live in a golden era of banging people.
We have a friend who's really sensitive about his age, and I had to point out to them that he literally called me to be like, oh, man, it's just getting older every day. And I was like, yesterday you called me to tell me that you had sex with a 25-year-old you met in an airport. And he was like, oh yeah. And I'm like, people in their 40s don't like that's not something people in their 40s did 10 years ago. 10 years ago, 2009 40-year-olds, they were wearing a fleece no matter the weather conditions. And they were, Dylan, look at me. Are you looking at me, Dylan? They were sad.
I like, dude. So I went to I posted the clip online, but bachelor parties now
very good clip. I laughed
at
this.
Well, this isn't the whole clip, but like bachelor parties now are like. Remember when we did comedy? When we started in comedy, it's like, oh, there's a bachelor party, and it was like, 75, 25-year-olds. They're all wasted and on blow.
Rick, and
Six of them carried in guns, and then now a bachelor party like, oh yeah, is just all millennials. So it's like, well, I weighed this decision to get married so much that it's 8 people. We all had a reasonable dinner at a chain restaurant, and why did we agree to go to this late show? We're all desperately wanting sleep.
yeah, the reason why we came to this late show is that the IPA here is keto.
Yeah, but like,
Oh,
oh yes, me and this woman have been together for 3 years, but I have been in 25 long-term relationships already. I am 36 years old, and we are getting married because I don't know. I mean, her mom just wants it for some reason, so that's why. Anyway, we went to a Moxie's before this.
yeah.
Like,
And by the way, if you're wondering what we did for Dylan's bachelor party, it's me, him, and Will Duggan went to a strip club, and that's
on
it.
a on a Monday.
It was a Sunday, much sadder.
Oh yeah, it was a Sunday, and then he said, "How much should it cost to eat at a stripper?" And then we were like, "Well,
Oh,
we're
no,
leaving."
misremembering. You were misremembering. He was already stood at an ATM, and he said,
Yeah,
"Is
yeah,
60 quid too much?" And then we said, "We're leaving."
yeah. That was good.
And then using drunk magic, I bicycled and kept pace with a bus from from fucking Trafalgar Square or Leicester Square all the way to my fucking house in Finsbury Park, and it was the most insane thing I have never. That just no one talks about this. Every once in a while, if you're super fucked up and need to do some exercise, you are a superhero.
Oh yeah, because you don't recognize any of the things your body's telling you, such as my heart is on fire.
Yeah, and you also your body, like my body was filled with cheap strip club beer, so it's like we need to burn this off. Yeah, I just remembered like
Yeah, you have so many carbs in you.
I remember just taking the Camden Hill and it felt like a waterfall of sweat was coming down my back. Like it felt like I was shitting myself from my shoulders.
Well, we should talk about Vince McMahon's time
Oh
with Austin Theory, because basically,
God. I
as
thought
far as the Chosen One goes, this is the worst build they've ever had to a Chosen One in the history of the WWE.
yeah, also it's never good when the guy you're trying to build's name is theoretical.
And oh yeah, it was Austin Theory, and then it was just Theory.
Yeah, just theory. And now that Vince McMahon is back in charge, his now name is Austin Fact.
But like his whole build was like Vince McMahon
Do you even remember that?
screaming at him.
Thought this was a dream. Like I remember, like because I had to. Like, I saw Theory appear on Twitter, and I was like, "Oh yeah, he was Vince McMahon's son." During one of those angles where everyone was like, "No."
Yes, and they had to redo him. They basically took him off television and were just like, "You are still good, but we need to redo this character from the ground up." It was like he was a one-man Spirit Squad. So Vince was pushing him, but at the same time completely emasculating him every single week.
Imagine being a one-man Spirit Squad.
It was a lot. And he was like winning things. He won, but he was like the weakest character on the show, but he was getting everything. I don't know how, but I guess that's what Vince thinks a good heel is. You just like cannot win. You are no threat to anyone, but you're still
Yeah, Vince
great.
McMahon really portrays heels like someone that had a bunch of stepdads that kicked the shit out of him. It's like, and you're a bad guy, and you are no threat to anyone.
Yeah. Well, like, so
You're
I'd say MJF is the NWA heel. Like, he's like, I'm a dickhead, and then I'm competitive in these fights, but I can't win them in the end. So that makes you hate me.
MJF is millennial Ric Flair in that
Yeah.
everyone loves him, but no one wants him to be a good guy. He doesn't really actually, he's not a, like, he doesn't have any big wins, but you're just kind of like, yeah, get this guy out here. This will be fun. Like, that's what it feels like. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, I don't know why he's the champion. Can I just say, can we go back to CM Punk being in AEW so I don't feel like I have to keep up with it? Because I don't like it. I feel like I literally missed the one fight. It feels like because of my personal feelings, I slept on the one good year of this company. It was like if like Austin.
That Adam Cole comeback was great. So,
All right.
I mean, we're on different wavelengths here, but what I'm saying is Austin Theory is booked like Chris Jericho was when he was the double champ, where it was like he fell over and then landed and his butt fell and now he has the belt. It was like fucking anyway. But After that, so that's the worst thing he did. And then the second worst thing is, of course, getting caught for essentially going to regular massage therapists and just demanding sex from them. That's what Vince McMahon did.
Wild thing ever.
And running after them if they denied him.
Yeah. Basically, he walked into a PT. And they were like, all right, so we need to rebuild the lining around your spinal cord because you're slowly going to start getting herniated discs.
Suck my fucking dick.
There it is. That's exactly what it was.
Suck my fucking dick.
Like, also, Vince McMahon it's really interesting. I think he thought that everyone died in COVID because such a remarkable, like, he's like, everyone's inside, Vince plays. Like, I guarantee throughout Florida, there are reports of just Vince McMahon fairly shitting in the middle of a road because he's just like, the world's closed. Ha 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 ha. Vince is
Well, what wrestlers were like the first, which we see a lot of now, but the first internet celebrities, which is if a wrestling fan sees a wrestler completely in awe that they're seeing this hero, and then everyone else sees them and is like, who the fuck is that? So Vince McMahon is one of the first people where it's like he's in this weird bubble where he's like, yeah, everyone that sees me kisses the ground I walk on. That's not the right thing to say. Anyway, sucks the ground I walk on. There it is. And then he gets outside of his bubble and he just goes to a regular personal trainer, and when he's screaming blowjob at them, they're like, get the fuck out of my practice. And he's like, no, that's not how it works. You suck because I say I'm the king.
That's such an interesting thing. He literally, like, he created his own universe because he hated the world, but he kept leaving his own universe to just get milk. And he'd be like, all right, I don't pay for this, I'm the king. And then they're like, you do, this is a Kroger's, you have to pay for it. And he's like, all right, Linda. And he's like, I'm a
funny joke, you're a piece of shit.
Funny joke, Linda. Funny disguise. What are you doing in the kitchen? Ironically, I don't think that's where women should be.
They should be under the deck.
Just know this: Vince McMahon has lived with there's another couple that lives in Vince McMahon's house, and their job is to take care of Vince and Linda. Vince and Linda have another family that services them.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you know this?
I did a lot of YouTubing, and it's mentioned in a Jim Cornette experience from maybe 6 years ago. He was just walking around with Vince in Vince's house, and he just ran into another couple, and he's like, these people live here too, I think. And like, he was just like, he's like, it was the weirdest house because it was like, you'd hang out there with Vince. I always think of this. He's like, they would work at Vince's house, and Vince always seemed like he didn't feel comfortable in his house. Like, you'd see him at the office and he'd be like, good, no kids. And then like he'd be at his house and he'd be like, I don't know, what's this room? And they're like, that's the bathroom. He's like, I hate it.
What people, wait a minute, people do that in there? Ha 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 ha.
Oh, I've been drinking it. Just kidding.
Ha ha ha. So Vince, Kennedy,
McMahon?
Steven, Austin McMahon. He also has a WrestleMania match against Pat McAfee after Pat McAfee beats Austin Theory. So here's the other thing is,
which is so insane.
Austin Theory loses to a commentator, and then the commentator loses to a man that's a skeleton.
Yeah, he loses to a sex criminal who's
yeah, he loses to a rapist.
yeah, and then ironically, an NFL player losing to a sex criminal. I mean, beaten by what they are. You know what I mean, baby?
Yeah, that's why. Turns out that's why Vince wanted OJ up back. All those back days, like, we got the same gimmick. Only one of us can have this gimmick.
Yeah. I didn't get caught.
But like the worst, like,
not yet.
McMahon, like, just, this is a senior. He's trying to still move, and he shouldn't. He's 77. He wants to not die. He's just like it's a weekly show where Howard Hughes comes out. Like, that's what wrestling's going to be now. Like, it's almost going to be better than it's ever been because of what we get. AEW, which is going to be coherent professional wrestling, even if, like, now you can go back. You not even go back to microanalyzing it. You're just like, oh, okay, they had two people wrestle and one guy won, and there's a bad guy and a good guy. All right, well, this is wrestling. And then the other show is just going to be 3 hours of Vince McMahon bringing up taxes from the 60s and trying to get the people who overcharged him at restaurants on the show so he can shoot them with a gun.
Hello, welcome to Friday Night SmackDown. And in the main event, a gardener from 1999 who overcharged me for doing my fucking lawn.
Exactly.
And he said
And
that he,
oh wait, we're gonna be going to the graves of a bunch of the people that were mean to me in grade 2. Ha ha ha! They're dead. I'm alive. I win.
hello, my stepdad's family. You're evicted. Hello, Mr. McMahon. I'm going to say this again. That family does not live here. This is just you're calling the governor's residence of North Carolina. Get out.
Oh
So-
yeah, and that's the other thing is Austin comes in and stunners McMahon and Austin Theory, and it's like you can see Austin being like, "What the fuck?" He just comes in and gets money from Vince McMahon, but
He's also doing the Broken Skull sessions at this point.
yeah,
Aren't
he's
there?
still doing that. Yeah.
He's still doing that. Like it's just this 2021 is very odd, and then there's the theory thing. Then he disappears. There's also Pat McAfee. By the way, is just such an odd, weird addition to the sports media and wrestling media landscape. In that basically he just figured out it's like, guys, if you just are a football player, people will, and you sort of have crazy opinions, people will listen to you. Again, Pat McAfee, much like Jim Rome, I'm not a sports guy. I've listened to Pat McAfee's show a lot because I am utterly fascinated. That guy literally says nothing in so many words.
That is the key. All you do is you say things loudly and seemingly have a lot of, passion and charisma while truly, truly saying nothing.
That's important. Remember, say nothing.
So check this, you piece of shit asshole motherfucker. And then in April of 2022, it comes crashing down and it hurts inside.
Yeah, it really does. We hit into 2022. It's a great WrestleMania. Cody is back, which Vince McMahon probably did not know where he went. He was like, "What the fuck is Dusty looking good?" And then they're like, "That's Cody." And he's like, "Who the fuck is Cody?" It is April 2022, and Vince McMahon is caught doing his favorite thing, treating women like they are property. And they were like, "You can't do this, Vince." And he was like, "What are you guys, the police?" And they were like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Oh."
So you talked about this. We had a blow-by-blow of this basically every week if you listen to the show, which if you are listening to this, you most certainly do listen to this show. But why did you think that Vince McMahon could not come back in control of this company?
Because of him using corporate money, I assumed that it had been implied and shown that he probably used some company money to pay these women off. It has borne out more and more he may not have. But what is still very interesting is there was a huge amount of misconduct. There was a lot of huge amounts of sexual misconduct in the workplace. And so he was pushed out. The SEC came in and federally investigated. I don't know if that investigation has wrapped up, and I don't know if it's been concluded whether or not
their corporate investigation has wrapped up. And one of the things that happened when he took over the board again and did this whole takeover is that
did that was gone.
Everyone involved in that investigation has now quit.
Yeah. So what probably happened is there wasn't enough evidence of him doing that to keep him off of the board, but it satisfied the feds enough for them that they took the heat off, and Vince came back. I just assumed that they would find more, or he would be prevented forever. The thing is he possesses so much stock. Jim Cornette kind of hints at this. He'll talk about the stock scam. It's just because the American stock market's insane with rules and regulations. But essentially, Vince owns the most amount of stock individually as a person. So he has the most control of that board, meaning he can just put himself on the board, which is essentially what he did. So he took himself away so that the company was not imploded. That investigation wrapped up. They didn't find enough to keep him out of power. And so he essentially came roaring back. I think that Stephanie assumed that her father would do the right thing for the company and not do that. And Stephanie's a fucking idiot.
Yes. Well, that was the whole thing was like, don't you want this thing to survive that you built? And it turns out, no, I don't give a shit. Which, honestly,
I mean, it's
fucked up, but it's his thing to kill.
It is his
He
thing to kill.
did it.
I know that it's now being reported that the Saudi deal is not happening. I don't bet against that.
This is what I like, though. How did everyone on Twitter think the Saudis? What were the sources?
I believe it was wrestling.tv and it was a Twitter handle, Twitter the wrestler review, I think, broke the
So
story.
this is also another. So this is my favorite because it's bodyslam.net, and that's not a joke. Bodyslam.net,
Not even
which just sounds like porn.
yeah.
If anything's going to be porn, it's bodyslam.net. And then the second one was Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez teasing it, which really does shine a light on how Dave Meltzer works, where it's, hey, something is 70% true. I'm just going to report it as fact.
Yeah, no, it's more than likely that they're talking, but these things take months and months and months and months.
But this also just isn't, this is not just a wrestling problem. This is also sports journalism where, like, you listen to all, that's why so many athletes now, is particularly in the NBA, do their own podcasts because they're like, that didn't happen. You just made that up. So
Yeah, it's that sort of thing of who was it, the practice guy?
Allen Iverson.
Allen Iverson. The point of that, which I think is always missed, is Allen Iverson. He's kind of being dickish, but he's like, you guys are focusing on I keep winning games, and you're like, we don't show up for practice, and he's like, who gives a fuck? I'm winning.
Yeah, his whole thing is like, yeah, I'm 5'1". I get choke slammed onto a basketball court 17 times a game to get free throws, and you guys are asking me why I don't practice because I'm in horrible pain.
Yeah,
because I'm in horrible fucking. Our whole offensive strategy is give me the ball and then just let me get choke slammed. Anyway,
I'm a 5'1" man who had his like future briefly curtailed because other people got into a fight at a bowling alley. I'm not really into rules, bro.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing. And another crazy thing is, did you know this, Vince McMahon? If you work in the building, you have to have seen his dick, and that's a thing. Even if he doesn't have time, his schedule's too busy to properly sexual harass you. There's a company picture of his dick that's in a drawer, and it's all like mushed up and stuff because he's really proud of his dick when he was 50 for some reason. So you have to look at this old weird Polaroid of his dick for
it's
10
weird.
seconds. So you.
What's
take
even
it home with you.
Is it's blown up and it's actually a billboard on the highway, one exit past WWE headquarters, and it just says underneath, "We'll see you again."
But he gets so basically, and then to summarize, the other scandal was him and Laurinaitis were bang-a-lang the same girl. She got a raise, and that woman's life, right?
Imagine right there, like
she was into it. She's just being aggressively double teamed by Johnny Ace and Vince McMahon, and she's like, "Yeah, this is good."
I'm gonna say it. I've held my tongue. Where is Bruce Pritchard in all of this? Is Bruce Pritchard sad that he was not involved in the oil rigger-esque sexcapades of Laurinaitis and McMahon, or is he just sort of like, I was offered and I love my wife?
Well, it is interesting to me that Pritchard and Stephanie have that thing where Pritchard brings a gun to work, and essentially that's why he gets fired, because that is such a weird cross section of wrestling, because it's like, yeah, you bring a gun to work and your dad's, I mean, I don't understand why it's a problem. I'm bringing a gun to work. Your dad's double teaming a chick 6 feet away from us.
Yeah.
Your dad and one of the dynamic dudes are fucking 5 inches in a woman. I can hear it. Why is I have a gun? Why is this weird?
Hey, do you want to know why I have a gun?
This is pro wrestling. This is pedophile. I'm carrying a gun.
Because if
everyone
I don't
on TV rapes people, I can't carry a gun around fucking pedophiles.
I got news for you. My fucking boss is Vince McMahon, and 3 times I've woken up and he's in my house, totally naked, smelling my wife's hair. Yeah, he pays me enough not to be upset about it, but he doesn't pay me enough not to have a gun, because every once in a while I like to hold it to his temple and just go, anytime I want, and then we kiss, Stephanie. I can't lip kiss my boss, who is known around Connecticut as Jimmy Savile, minus all the helping of kids. I don't even know who Jimmy Savile is, Steph.
Jimmy Savile, but honest about it on TV, pretty much.
Yeah, Jimmy Savile, but not like, but so
but
much.
It's so interesting because this is weirdly the last stand of territory wrestling, because it's like, do you know what I mean, though? This is it.
I do.
They tried to get territory wrestling completely out of it, and Stephanie McMahon was like, "I went to college. You can't just have a gun here, Bruce." And he got fired. And then Stephanie was like, "I went to college. Also, I'm a citizen. Dad, maybe don't cheat on mom on TV." And he's like,
That's where I draw the line, Stephanie. You can tell my fat-titted friend that he can't carry a gun. That is fine. But if you're going to horn in on me directly paying for sex using public money, technically, you got another thing coming.
Stephanie, let me teach you a little something about business. Every business is literally just set up so that the CEO can fuck people. No repercussions. Why?
Cock executive. Oh, cock.
Yeah.
That's what it stands for.
Yeah. Why do you think it's called Apple? Because Steve Jobs thought every woman's ass was a juicy, delicious apple.
yes. And then what was it? I had something else coarse to say, but it leaves me now.
What was the course thing? Say my lover.
This is it. This is territory wrestling. This is the last shred of territory wrestling. Oh yeah, that was also like Dana White slaps his wife around, and he just comes out and goes, "Hey, sorry, but she's a fucking bitch."
No, you missed my favorite part. First of all, we've been together since we were 12. That was my favorite part, where he's like nothing sounds more. By the way, that sounded. Dana White is from Boston, and there's I call it the snow scumbag line, and it goes basically like Maine, Massachusetts, upstate New York, and portions of Illinois. You're the same type of scumbag as a Canadian scumbag. I guarantee everyone in a fucking real sports in Toronto, when he was like, "We've been together when we were 12," everyone was like, "Case closed." Yeah, Dana's fine. Like, do you understand?
Oh, no. There was a lot of hay made about, oh, well, she hit him first. And it's so funny watching my brother-in-law do it, where it's like watching him, and he is a construction worker, so which is very funny because he was like, well, she hit him first. See, I'm watching the video now. She hits him first, all right, and then he hits her. Oh, he hits her. Oh, he hits her good again. Oh, yeah, this is not good. Which is so funny because the way all the comments, do not go in the comment section of that, because it's just, I don't know who is just like.
Here's my point.
That is crazy that you put that and attach your name to it. I don't know.
Here's the thing that no one has brought up, which is he went to Tijuana, or he went to Mexico with his kids and his wife. Why are you guys in a nightclub? Like, you're in it's just so trashy and weird.
Well, he's 50. His kids are adults.
But he hasn't. No, but I'm just like, why would you go that didn't look like that guy.
He's Vince McMahon. You know, he isn't Vince McMahon because he was with his wife.
Yeah,
Vince was outraged at that, and they're like, "What, hitting a woman?" He's like,
No, why he's spending time with his wife? What is he, gay? Is he gay?
Club with his wife. Why isn't she?
This is why the UFC. I can't believe they still are around. This man has sex with his disgusting, ugly wife. Not, I've seen her. She's attractive, but when it's a wife, that's bad.
Yeah, man, Brock. You took orders from someone who is seen with their wife. Brock, I didn't know.
Little girl, here's a bunch. I'm paying you in Polly Pockets from now on, little baby girl.
Polly Pockets and little dresses, Brock.
This is the other thing came out was like, can you imagine you work for your dad
the whole time? Brock Lesnar. Never forget when Vince got fucking kicked to the curb. Brock walked out. Wait. But he paid those women, so they're whores.
Oh, dude. Let's not talk about Brock Lesnar and like what.
Like, what the fuck, Brock?
Brock Lesnar lives in Canada not because of anything. Like, he pays more taxes just because Canada statistically has the least amount of people around you possible. Like, he basically bought into socialism, even though I'm sure this man believes that any form of road is dumb.
Yeah, this is a guy that
you should build the road as you walk upon it.
So you work with Paul Heyman, and his answer was, "You gotta get the Jew paid."
Yeah, that's part.
Which, first of all, by the way, he's welcome in rural Canada. There is no one in rural Canada that's going to be like, "Whoa!" Everyone's going to be like, "He said it."
That's what you call them.
Yeah, that is their religion.
Yeah. So, John.
Yeah.
So how the scandal goes basically is Vince, and this is another thing, is it's so unbelievable. Like the documentary about that's gonna like talk about all these things in 10 years is once Vince is maybe dead is going to be insane. But Vince McMahon, public scandal, first thing he does is come out and just say then now together forever and just
Oh,
basically smirk at the camera being like none you bitches can fuck with me, and then he does retire. I want to know who gave him the advice to retire. Just he late one Friday, I'm done. Fuck this.
lawyers came in and went.
Doesn't tell. Here's the thing. This says a lot. The story about Stephanie and Triple H, how they got the news was they were driving up to their like cottage. So he didn't tell his own family he was retiring.
Yeah, they don't live. So Stephanie and Triple H, their like actual home is in New Hampshire. It's not in Connecticut. And they Sean Waltman described it on a podcast where he said he was sober, but he sounded wine drunk, and he's just like, I don't know why Paul leaves his house. He owns a lake. So they have so much money. They own a lake in New Hampshire, which is I think where they were going. And then they get a call where it's like, yeah, your dad, as it turns out, is history's greatest monster. You may want to turn the car around.
But she knew there's no way she doesn't know this. It's like this
There
guy
is
is
no-
like also he's being a fucking cunt to her mom.
Yeah, but what's even
Like,
crazier,
yeah.
is that clearly she is her dad's son, and it was like, my enemy is out of the way, and now I am the CEO.
It's so crazy how close to actual Succession it is if you wanted to cast it this way.
It's stupid Succession. I also say this, and I keep saying it. How much do you think that in Vince's head a little bit? He's like, we've got Tony Khan, we've got Nick Khan.
I don't know. He clearly trusts Nick Khan because Nick Khan is like, you're a Hollywood agent? That's good. Now you can make us win the Oscar for best movie. Everything's a movie. We make movies.
Are you Shane? No, I love you. Where is
So-
Shane? This, by the way, this is the thing that's also needs to be pointed out. Is Shane McMahon has he
Shane?
fucked off.
Shane, when he was like, let's buy the UFC, Dad, they didn't. Shane watched that thing succeed, lit up a joint, and stopped caring.
Yeah, he was like, I guarantee his wife, like in that way that, and this is very specific.
Actually, he didn't, because Shane was fired at the
Right.
Royal Rumble because he was like trying to book the match or something. So he still,
was.
yeah, he was like kept on aggressively like, no, we need to do this, this, and this, and then Vince was like, get the fuck out of here.
Well, because apparently what it is, and this has been said by Paul,
This is also reported by wrestling journalists like bodyslam.net.
exactly. This one comes in from clothesline dot
Piss jizz.
.xxx. Why we never got wrestler review .xxx, and is a trick that was absolutely missed. Is apparently like Shane is a McMahon, and also Shane's kind of problem is he's been right a bunch of times and no one has listened to him. So it's kind of that thing of like, if you ask Shane's opinion, you're getting it, but you better be prepared to take it, because he's not taking no for an answer anymore. Because he literally was like, hey Dad, do you want to be a many times billionaire? And Vince was like, yes. And he was like, here's how you do it really easily. And he was like, don't like that idea. Because you have to also remember,
That's not
Shane's
my idea. You said a bunch of words that aren't me.
that's not my voice. You're fired. You can't
Okay.
fire. I'm 11. Yeah, you're fired.
I'm fired from being my son. Now
Yes, you're
someone else.
my son
Triple
now.
H is my son.
Because he said, let's buy ECW. Why don't we just buy ECW? There's no reason not to just buy ECW and have like, it's like, there's so many times that like Shane is always like the ally, because like, there's just a bunch of times that Shane was like, do this. And then everyone was like, that's stupid. And then they eventually did it. And he was like, ugh. So he's just he's like you and me, Dylan. You know what I mean? When a young comedian's like, why am I bombing? And we're like, let me tell you what you need to do. First things first, you need to open up with a little local. And then you want to transition into material about things everyone can relate to, like a newspaper, news, home, sports, and in a story, and then do a thing that was very typical in Canadian stand-up comedy for a long time, end with a big song and dance number that sucks.
Oh yeah, and then now it's long story about your balls.
You gotta have a long story about your balls.
Yeah, that's the closer, buddy. Long story about fucking getting nut on you or nutting on someone, buddy. Otherwise, what the fuck are these people paying for?
The story that I'm closing on currently, hitting a pig with a car. Do I nut on the pig? I do now.
On, in, all over the place.
Yeah. Then, now, together, fucking a pig forever.
Vince also, like, I don't know, man. You put yourself in those kids' shoes, though. For me, the way I was raised, I'd be like, hey, can I, oh, I thought I was going to take this over. Well, maybe in a bit. Oh, that means no. I quit, which is what Shane did.
Yeah. Shane quit.
Sold out. Shane bought out. Shane was like, no, I'm good. Bye-bye.
Yeah, China, I'm going to go give them Netflix. What is that? It means I'm about to get paid a bunch of money by the CCP to give them trade secrets because they think that WWE is important.
People think I'm the good guy? Well, you know what? I'm like my dad. Full evil.
Yeah, it's one of those things that people are like, if only Shane had been in charge, and then it'd be like, well, then Shane would have used all this money to do blow and fight his dad. Like, this is not a good group of people. Like,
Linda McMahon is like,
was the small business are under Trump, and let me say this as someone who lives in America, small business is not doing well. And
I want everywhere to be like Gary, Indiana.
How about this? How about everywhere is taxed by me and I keep the money?
I was in Target the other day and there was a bunch of people buying things with my money. What money? Taxes? No, I mean like all money is mine. I get it.
Yeah, I was in Target just throwing up yesterday. Like it's a bad sign when the guy who's never had a drink but has only ever done HGH, he's the reasonable one. Who's the reasonable one in that family? Oh, that gentleman who, before he goes into the place where he works, you have to sing one of 3 different songs.
Oh, yes. And then they were like, yeah, man, Triple H is the level-headed, cool one. Who did he appoint as the director of NXT? Oh, a guy who made a game out of drugging women and fucking them. Oh, okay, cool. Who is he? What was the first big match under his reign? Oh, a guy who did a huge crypto scam. Oh, okay, cool. Logan Paul. Big crypto scam. Anyway.
By the way, please, everyone, go check out the CoffeeZilla video that was done that uncovered that entire scam. I've had a herniated disc in my back for the last week, and I watched that entire thing. And can I say this right now? I love the internet again. I love it. Say what you want about Gen Z. They have made YouTube a banger. Oh, remember Logan Paul? He went to a suicide forest. That's the least of the things he's done. He is a massive financial criminal who also, by the way, tried to threaten the guy by joining his Patreon. I love that story. That story, please tune in next week for my new show, The Logan Paul Review, where I just
talk about Logan Paul. I mean, that would probably do really well.
So I watched all of his in COVID. There was a week where I went deep on Logan Paul and watched all of his podcasts. The podcast where Logan Paul learns about racism is so stupid it becomes performance art. When I was watching that video, I'm realizing people go through this every day. Oh, it was gorgeous. Oh my God. Dylan, you have been raising a child. You don't even, let me put it this way. People were shocked that it was such a minimal amount of financial crime based on what Jake Paul has gotten up to. Jake Paul has 3 different FBI files. YouTube taking it to the fucking moon, bro.
I mean, moving to once you make a bunch of money, moving to a place with friendlier extradition laws is not a just influencer thing. That was I got a lot of money and I do some weird shit with a thing.
My favorite part. There's a video I think got taken down, but Jake Paul set his pool on fire, and then the police show up, and it's just him trying to get the police not to come in because the pool is on fire. He's probably gonna get him in.
Is that where they found all those guns?
I think that is when they found all those guns. Yes.
Sweet. Vinnie Mac, where are we now? Oh yeah, Vince McMahon is
the dog.
I would love to hear him talk about what he was doing. He will never talk in public again. I don't think he's that dumb.
I disagree. Vince
McMahon, he's going to come out and Raw's now a 3-hour podcast about how much it sucks to live a regular life.
I guarantee that Joe Rogan, here's the podcast that we need right now, and I just thought of this. Joe Rogan, Vince McMahon smokes weed for the first time and talks to Joe Rogan. Because first of all, that'd be the first time Vince McMahon finds out about the anti-vax movement in COVID. What? I didn't hear.
Oh, he'll be like, no, that's how you live.
Yeah.
Paul. There's certain people where it's like, yeah, you just made a name for what I do. I don't.
Yeah, it's just no. But yeah, no, Vince. I guarantee Vince McMahon. Because here's the thing: is this isn't over. Vince McMahon. If they're gonna,
it's not over by a long shot.
The thing is, by Vince McMahon coming back, what's weird is when it turned out the Saudi public fund was not purchasing the company, the stock dropped even more. First of all,
No, it went up.
no, it went down.
No, I mean it went up when there was rumors of a sale. It went
Exactly.
up a lot. That's what the Shield was when Vince was. Yeah.
And then they went down when I found out it's possibly not. But I do genuinely think that a sale is on the off, and it's going to be months because they're going to have to do so much due diligence. They are going to have to prove that Vince did not use company money to do that. It's going to affect the sale. Also, Vince's presence in the company is going to affect the sale now. Like, this is going to be a fascinating little time, my friend.
Who gives a shit less about you fucking someone at a company than people who killed a journalist?
Oh my God, this is probably why they want to buy the company. Are the women that you did this, Vince, are they included in the sale? I guarantee is probably what well, they don't
oh
work.
My God, yes.
They
just
don't want to buy this.
This is a chance to buy in our value, prestige amount of entertainment company with over 50 years experience, who's got a functional, mostly a monopoly in the field, and put so many women out of work.
Let me get this straight. You guys have made over $1 billion, and most of that is making women look like dogs. How much do you want for this company?
But literally what they'll do is, and this is my speculation, is what they'll do is like just have a WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia. That'll be the whole thing.
Oh my God. Yeah, they are going to have it because they're the rumor is currently that somehow FIFA is going to give the World Cup to Saudi Arabia in 2030. And holy shit, WrestleMania and the World Cup, which fans will be more or less welcome in Saudi Arabia, do you think?
Oh, dude,
this
is the thing about wrestling fans is, I don't know, do wrestling fans drink as much anymore? They'll just buy a bunch of merch and pops.
I think they do. Because here's the thing is that there's a segment.
I was at AEW and people were fucking annihilated at AEW. But that's like, I feel like AEW fans aren't like indie wrestling fans, or they are like indie wrestling fans. Let's get fucking hammered. I don't know who WWE fans are. Like, the guys I hang out with and watch wrestling with wouldn't have cheered Vince McMahon when he came out, but WWE fans did. So I don't know those people. Like, there is those people online who are just WWE.
A lot of the WWE audiences at this point are just like, we're going to see the wrestling. Like, it's kind of returned to that thing of like, it's in town, I might as well go. Like, I think that they like a bunch of people, especially that first one when he came out. I don't know how many of those fans were necessarily aware. I'm giving them a lot of benefit of the doubt, but that's what I'm feeling in my heart.
Okay. That is an interesting point. Yeah, they might just not be aware at all of what's happened, and they're just there and they see wrestling and whatever. But yes, Vince McMahon has once again wrested control of his own baby. He's back, baby. He had 6 months. Other things, like he has his birthday party. He's there not with Linda, but with just another woman, which I think is like another kind of shot across the bow at like, why are you doing this when you're...
Then there's that amazing photo that was found about 2 months ago of him just dining in New York that Dylan was obsessed with because of his fucking head.
Look at his fuck. But he's the thing about Vince McMahon is he's a crazy man. His family, or his mom at least, lived well into her 90s. But I feel like Vince is going to pass on soon because he just refuses to live like he's a old man. Like, he's in full denial. He thinks he's 55 forever. Where it's like, yeah, I'm slowing down, but I can still fucking do this, and this. Like,
I'm slowing down, but I still can cheat on my wife a lot with people I work with. Like, let's talk.
Like, he's going to try and bench 300 pounds on his 80th birthday, have a heart attack, and is going to crush his Adam's apple. That's how he's going to die.
I guarantee he dies in some sort of, actually, I can do that better than you, Brock kind of contest. Like, you're right. But what is more than amazingly interesting is no one could have predicted what will kill the WWE will be Vince McMahon. Like, we are living in a world, in my mind right now, is its countdown to Tony Khan walking onto WWE television and firing Jeff Jarrett once again. Like, there is no way that Jeff Jarrett does.
I think, hear me out here.
Jeff Jarrett gets fired.
Hear me out here. I always thought Vince McMahon would kill WWE because of the diminishing interest in it and how, like, they alienated their core fan base, like me and you. like me and you are like, we do a fucking podcast about wrestling. I haven't watched a full episode of Raw in fucking years.
I can tell you when it was. The last time I watched a full episode of Raw, it would have been February of maybe January of 2014, and I was hanging out. I was ski at those ski gigs in France with Brendan Burns, and Brendan Burns put it on the day after. Was like, "Do you want to watch all of Raw last night?" And I was like, "Holy fuck! I haven't watched an entire Raw in so long. Let's do it." Very fun.
Yeah, fuck. It was one where like Austin came back. I think it was like a 20th or 25th anniversary is the last one I watched.
The
Maybe?
one I could tell you the one I watched was, which is you, me, Alex Wood, Adrian Kronk. We all watched the.
Yes, that was probably the last one.
That was the Raw home, the incredibly disappointing
Very
Raw
bad.
25th or 30th anniversary.
Yeah, and then yes, and DX beat someone. No, it wasn't 30th because 30th would be that'll be 94. That'll be coming up in a year.
Jesus.
That's
Yeah.
when Vince kills Rita Chatterton live on air.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the the Raw 30th anniversary is him slowly cutting Bruce Pritchard's head off and then fucking the wound on US.
But this is literally like Vince McMahon in real life has done what he did in 1999 storylines, where it's like you come out, lawsuit, 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 lawsuit. Everyone's suing everybody. There's just no wrestling. Like it's crazy. I thought it would just peter out because Vince McMahon. What I really thought would happen, which was what was currently happening, which was Vince McMahon would leave for some reason. I thought it would be age. I didn't think that any of these allegations would actually stick. Not that they're not reputable allegations. It's just I don't think unless there's tape of Vince McMahon doing a crime and he actually physically has to go to jail, he will ever stop running this company.
Completely. You're 100% correct.
Unless he has to go to jail, there's no way he can stop running this company. And I didn't think it would be that interesting, just like all things in life. I didn't think it would be that theatrical. I just thought it would just kind of peter out and then someone would buy it and, Triple H would run it and it'd be like Marvel or Marvel movies or whatever until Disney bought it. And then Disney was like, let's get all the fucking nerds we can to make the best possible things and really, give this thing life again, which is what they did.
You're slightly incorrect on the timeline, but you are, in a macro sense, very correct. And that is probably what should have happened and is eventually going to happen. In that a big company will come in. The only distinction is Marvel had put them on the path, and then Disney was like, oh, we'll just take that. Thank you. And here's all your money, go away. WWE is going to be a version of that. I think it's going to be Disney or Comcast, or Discovery or Time Warner Discovery, whatever that conglomerate is called. I think one of those three is buying this. I think one of those three is buying it. I think it's going to become Marvel is the exact correct allegory. It's going to become a thing for kids, and AEW will be for wrestling fans.
Because to me, it's so close to comic books because people are just ready and have positive feelings towards this thing. It'd be so easy to monetize it. Like just people have generally positive feelings towards professional wrestling. It's just like Superman isn't a real guy who fucked somebody's wife and then said racist stuff. But that's the problem with wrestling is that Hulk Hogan's a real guy and he's got opinions on who can date his daughter.
Yeah, and he would like to discuss those live on air on Monday Night Raw. So
and that's why I think, okay, so my official prediction, which I guess will never be whatever, like unless it happens somehow in the next month, my official prediction is the Saudi government buying this because the world is bad and wrestling is meant for only perverts and murderers. And your official prediction is a publicly traded company.
Let me explain why. They will not be able to keep the roster intact the way that they are. Pardon me?
Why?
People will walk out. Sami Zayn has already openly been like, I'm a Syrian. I am not working for Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And
oh, yeah. Sami Zayn's gone, but whatever.
Sami Zayn will go. Kevin Owens will go. I feel like you might lose the bloodline. Like, here's the thing is, WWE
You will not lose. Roman Reigns has been on every Saudi card. You will not lose any. Like, I think it's like Sammy and Kevin. A lot of people will be like, "I'm gonna leave," and then they'll be like, "Wait a minute."
It's
'Cause
also the
they
it's
already
also,
own Newcastle and that Live Golf thing, and from everything I've
but we
been
were talking.
hearing,
Yeah,
yeah,
the other thing is they don't have Live Golf doesn't have TV. Newcastle does, but that's Premiership football. You're not going to
yeah,
they can't push that off. I don't see there's not a lot of TV stations that are going to go. Okay, we'll directly get
yeah.
in
But
bed
you
with.
have to be the first person to give Live Golf television. You're not like USA Network where we'll just keep WWE on.
I agree, but we don't know what the press pressure is going to be because it's also a really good story. We also don't know what the American government, in terms of trade relations with Saudi Arabia, is going to be. Currently, it's fine, but it's a much bigger question. Saudi Arabia buying that company than a media conglomerate, and also Vince McMahon is going to have to sell at a certain point because there's going to be, if not, it's already happening. If Stephanie still has shares, she does have a right of recall to boot him out. And also, there's something called fiduciary duty. If they can prove that Vince McMahon is not acting in the best interest of the stockholders, even though he is the majority stockholder, they can undo any deal. So it's again, I was wrong that he was going to come back. I will totally own that. But I don't know if he'll be able to pull off a Saudi deal. But that said, if they're like, we'll, if they do what Elon Musk did and they're just like, we'll pay you more than what the stock price is, then that negates the fiduciary duty issue. And Saudi Arabia, here we go.
So it's been said that like, and these are just numbers thrown around by other podcasts. So, but
Body slam.
like this, no WrestleNomics. Saudi government has like something like the Saudi fund has like $280 billion on, and WWE would cost roughly $6. So, like, they could just buy it cash and
Shit.
then they fucking own it.
What the fuck will Vince
The
McMahon do?
the ownings, so like all the companies that could buy it cash are literally the Saudi government and Amazon Prime. Those are the two things that could buy this cash.
And then the other ones, it would be they buy a portion of it and then slowly take it over a case of a few years as Vince loses power is the other way of doing
They
it.
would buy it and have to take on loans.
Yeah.
Rather than just being like, I have $280. Yeah, I'll buy this coffee for $6.
Yeah, no, I understand. But again, I don't see Saudi Arabia ending up with it. But I've been wrong and I'll be wrong again.
I do because I believe more than anything in the worst possible thing happening.
You absolutely do.
Vince McMahon comes back and he runs it, and the Saudi government gets it, runs it private. Vince runs it for a bit. But here's the thing. Here's the real juice, John.
Go, baby.
He runs it. The Saudis see the numbers going down, and then they're like,
The events
"You're fired."
are right. You are 100% right on
Like
that one,
actually,
buddy boy.
but he'll have something where like he'll have some contract thing where it's like, "Oh, you can't."
They couldn't right away, but
Remember this. One of the Saudi shows, the Saudis were like, "Well, fine, your guys aren't flying home then," and Vince is like, "I don't give a shit,"
I'll do TV
and
without
left them all on the plane.
Yeah, because he said, "Where's my money for these last two events?" And they were like, "We'll get it to you." And he was like, "Get it to me now." And then they like, as a message, held his people on the plane, and he was just like, "I don't care. NXT comes to SmackDown. Go fuck yourself."
I've set this whole thing up so that wrestlers don't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Like I don't care.
Do you understand? This is the WWE.
Pick one. He's the champ. Pick
Yeah,
one.
pick which
Like,
one you want.
which
What's
is like,
Guess what?
crazy.
Guess what, MBS? Pick one. And guarantee, by the way, for no reason, about 30% of the fans will chant, "You deserve it," even if we put the belt on Earl Hebner.
I guess in closing, what we should say is,
Close my
which something we didn't talk about was he did that interview on Pat McAfee's show, and Pat McAfee did an amazing job of basically making Vince McMahon seem like a coherent human being.
Yeah, what is very interesting is that it is learned that Vince McMahon is the most comfortable when someone is metaphorically milking his prostate. Like, I enjoy the Pat
Oh
McAfee,
yeah.
but Pat McAfee, if he likes you, like Aaron Rodgers' biggest gift in this life is that the discovery that he was unvaccinated and was violating all manner of, however you feel about the vaccination issue. The issue with Aaron Rodgers is he continually and constantly lied to a group of people he was supposed to be the leader of. So when it comes like, well, what did he do? It's like, well, his entire job is these people need to rely on him to be an absolute pillar of trust, and he's walking around going, I'm inoculated. And thank God he revealed that on Pat McAfee's show, because Pat McAfee loves the NFL so much. He was just like, well, Aaron is good at winning Super Bowls. And how I decide if you're a good person is if you have a Super Bowl, you could fucking kill my mom and I don't give a shit. And Vince McMahon got that same treatment of like, Vince, it's weird that our bathroom smells like bleach and all the female staffers are crying, but you seem fun.
So, Vince, do you have any fun plans for how you're gonna? Anyway,
Kill my
John,
fucking family.
So
you
this
think
week we'll
everyone-
do Dan Hansen next week, I guess.
We'll do Stan Hansen next week. Do you think that Vince McMahon sometimes thinks about Chris Benoit and he went, he was right to do what he did?
I never thought he had it, but that he does have he's a champion.
If he had the eye of the tiger like that, I would have invited him over for Thanksgiving and he could have fucking killed Shane. What is Linda doing right now? I pay a lot of money. I want a Linda update.
Linda?
I think she's laughing. I think Linda's got a very nice house in Greenwich, Connecticut. Maybe she's heading down to Pizza Factory. They do a sweet sauce at the Pizza Factory in Greenwich, Connecticut. Dylan, you ever have a sweet pizza sauce?
I think that she
Question
has a maid that looks like Vince did when he was younger, and she just fucking full punches him in the face as hard as she can. At least
I think that also, because here's the thing to remember, is because they are married, like Linda's getting all this cash. Like when Vince dies, like Linda, ha 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 ha, the North Carolina Belle wins.
Who actually? I don't know. Anyway, that's
usually stands to benefit, and the reason why they've not moved for divorce is it would be so incredibly complicated because of the ownership structure of that company going back and forth a million times. He's probably smart enough to just go, I'll give her whatever money she wants, because she probably could actually take the company from him pretty easily.
Yeah, it'd be like, I guess, when Donald Sterling lost the Clippers, was that lady, his wife got him declared basically incompetent.
And she could take it, and then she sold it to what's his face?
Yeah, and she stole it to Steve Ballmer.
Still goes to the games. That's my favorite part about that lady. She still shows up at the games.
Oh yeah, because she has the private box.
She has a private box.
That was part of the
She's known around Beverly Hills. I can't remember what her license plate is, but she's like one of those, like she's like a local LA noted person, and she's got like a golden Range Rover or something insane. I used to see like insanely fancy cars in Koreatown, because here's the thing with the Sterling real estate empire is that these like nice looking buildings on the external with these beautiful flags, and then you walk in them and the units stink. But you'd see these nice cars, and that's her, because she still runs that business. Crazy old lady. But yeah, Linda McMahon is my prediction moving forward. We'll do Stan Hansen next week. Linda McMahon. We have not heard the last from her in this saga.
It'll be very interesting. That's another X Factor, Linda McMahon, and honestly, there's nothing even close to as interesting as what is happening on television than this. Like, there's nothing even approaching as interesting as this Vince McMahon WWE selling, not selling, power play saga. And then on TV, all you're going to see is like the Bloodline doing like wrestling stuff.
Yeah, do you think we're going to
like
get
very good wrestling stuff, but just wrestling? Like they're just doing wrestling.
Of this?
Pardon me?
Do you think we're getting any acknowledgement of this on television?
I have no idea.
Good.
I don't know what to expect. I mean, if Vince takes creative control, which I assume he will, that's the interesting. That'll be the fun thing. But when this podcast ends, like on the exact day, which as of this recording is a month from now, Vince will have creative control, and then it'll get crazy. Like it'll get crazy as soon as it ends, and we'll.
You're listening to this, and by this point, Triple H will have resigned. When we recorded this, Triple H is still working at the company. So this is in 1 month from now. So I'm predicting. So we're saying by the end.
No, we're not. We're not throwing this up a month from now. I'm just saying we're throwing this up on Sunday. But like.
Oh, okay.
Like as this is recorded on the 12th, by like, I would say Triple H is resigned by like the next episode we have. So like the 22nd.
I'm saying February 1st.
Okay.
Dylan, I will bet you.
His wife just resigned. Like his wife and the daughter.
but here's why. I completely agree. He's resigning. He stopped working with the company the minute Stephanie left. Is that Vince is like stagger it so it doesn't look that bad. And weirdly, I guarantee they're like, well, we have to be loyal, I guess.
All right. Well, I love you.
I
We
love
all
you.
love you. Thank you very much for listening, and enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.
Everyone, don't be Vince McMahon. Be Shane.
Mm-hmm.